So here we are talking about Microsoft.NET. We're discussing developing ASP.NET MVC4 web applications. We're going to be exploring the MVC4 environment and the .NET environment. I'm going to be talking to you about the web technologies in general. I'm going to talk to you about ASP.NET 4.5, along with introduce MVC4 to you. Now, web technologies and web interfaces have been around for quite some time. They've been around for, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's been around for nearly 2 decades. Web environments and the web in general has been around since the mid-90s, early to mid-90s. And when it began, of course, the technology was very much premature. We have come a long way, but I still think we have a long way to go. There are several things that we are accomplishing on the web today that we were not doing very well in days past. We are feeding images and media and audio and video of all kinds. We are able to get bandwidth today that we weren't able to get in the past. Having a 100 meg pipe, or 100 megabit internet connection is not that big of a deal to have in your home because you're able to get cable. Many places are able to get 1 gigabit bandwidth available to them. And I'm not saying everybody does, but it is available in certain areas. So having that faster pipe, many people are streaming video through their computers, through their devices and over the internet. They're watching movies over the internet. It's very, very common. Not only that, our mobile devices, such as our phones and tablets, are able to feed in or take in media that is coming off of the web. And all I'm trying to say is web technologies have come very far from when we began, where, believe it or not, web was text-based. Yes, web was text-based. There were no images when it first began. It was all text. Yes, it was horrible looking too. But it worked for what it was. And now, of course, when you look at a site and you see how feature-rich it is, you've got things in animation and motion, and it looks awesome, and it's very functional, and it's very, very feature-rich. You recognize that the number of things that you're able to accomplish utilizing your web interface. I'm going to be telling you about the web technologies that are available in Microsoft. So if you want to develop a Microsoft.NET application or web environment, you can use something called Web Matrix. Now, Web Matrix is free. And let me show you what I'm talking about. If you open up a browser and you simply look up Web Matrix, here's Web Matrix right here. Oops. Right there. And as you can see, Web Matrix is free, and it's a lightweight cloud-connected web development tool. Right? So if you haven't heard of Web Matrix, you can use it to build .NET applications, and it's a free download. You don't have to have Visual Studio to develop .NET applications. You can use Web Matrix to do so. Of course, Web Matrix does not offer you many of the features that Visual Studio does, but nonetheless, it's available. So in addition to Web Matrix, you have Visual Studio, which is the full-blown Visual Studio, the development application, the integrated development environment, which is what I will be using. I will be using Visual Studio 2012 to develop the MVC applications and show you demonstrations of what we're going to be doing. There's also Visual Studio Express. Let me show you what this looks like. If I open this up and I type in Visual Studio Express right there. There you go. So here is Visual Studio Express. All right. And if I went to download, I can go to 2012 downloads. And here's Visual Studio Express 2012 right there. So Visual Studio 2012, as you can see right here, is a free development tool. See it? Free development tools that allow you to create applications on the latest platform. So you can use Visual Studio 2012 Express. Like I said, I'm going to be using Visual Studio 2012, not Express, the full version. So you can use Web Matrix, you can use Visual Studio, or you can use Visual Studio Express. .NET can only be hosted on IIS, which is the Internet Information Services, the web server that is provided by Microsoft. Now, here's another thing. If I open up my server here, and on my server, I open up Server Manager, and this is Windows Server 2012. And if I select to add roles and features, and I click Next, and I click Next, and it says, all right, select the server, and here are the roles that I can add. Now, one of these roles is web server. See it? Right there. All right. So IIS is part of the Microsoft server environment. So if you wanted to host web applications, not for testing and not for development purposes, because a local web server is included with Visual Studio. If you wanted to actually host web applications, .NET web applications, you would need IIS. You can also host SQL Server, your database server. Okay? SQL Server is a Microsoft database platform that you would need to install somewhere in your environment so that your web server can gain access to it. Then you have Windows Azure. Okay? Windows Azure is a cloud-based development platform, cloud-based hosting platform, not development. Let me show you. Windows Azure. So if you're not familiar with this, I urge you to take some time and look at it. Windows Azure allows you to build and run your applications, your web applications, in the cloud. So as your organization grows, as your database or as your web environment, as your user community grows, you will not have to purchase additional hardware. You will simply be able to ask Azure, Microsoft Service, that you want more virtual servers, that you want more databases, that you want more space. And Windows Azure, will allow you to scale your environment to your needs. You can start out small and then get bigger and bigger as you need to. Windows Azure gives you tremendous flexibility. You don't have to make the financial and resource investment that you would on day one if you did not have Windows Azure type service. It will spin off, or it will create virtual machines for you that will put your web servers on there, your database servers on there, your web applications on there. It will run your .NET applications. So today, if you're small, you can have a monthly service that has one server, and as you get bigger, you can add more servers and add more services, and not have to worry about support or backup or a data center or any of those things that you would have to worry about if you were if this was not available and you needed to bring those things in-house. For those of you that have worked with small businesses, know how difficult it is to make that investment, especially if you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Your domain names, your internet connectivity, your routing and switching, your security, support personnel to manage your web environment, your database servers, all of those things are included here with Windows Azure. You can simply point and click and determine what you need, and off you go. So Windows Azure, there's a free trial if you want. I would urge you to look into it and spend some time learning about Windows Azure. There's also SQL databases that are available that you would need to create so that you can persist data that is coming off of your web environments. Where else are you going to save the information that is provided by the users? On the server side, you're able to execute things on the server side and on the client side. ASP.NET is a server-side technology. And on the client side, you have JavaScript or jQuery or Ajax. Right? So these are the Microsoft Web technologies that are available overall. Now, ASP.NET 4.5, the programming models includes your web pages, your web forms, along with MVC, which is specifically what we're talking about here, and we're going to elaborate on that very soon. ASP.NET API, or Application Programmers Interfaces, including configuration of your web environment, authentication and authorization to keep things secure, and caching, all available along with the compilation of ASP.NET code. Client-side technologies, as I said, include JavaScript, jQuery, and Ajax. IIS version 8 and later, allowing you to scale your environment. Scaling has become a very big thing. It always was, but it's becoming even bigger today. Scaling is really being able to have that elastic purpose, if you will. If your organization is expecting 100 users initially into your web server, and as time progresses, you get thousands of users, your technologies that are responding to those users has to increase. You need to add more servers, more front end, more databases, more web servers. And scaling in IIS allows you to have that elastic capability where you can add servers and increase your performance as needed, and you can shrink them down as well. And today, these web servers don't have to be on physical boxes. They can exist in the virtual world as well. IIS Express is also available. Let me show you, maybe for those of you that hadn't seen it. Here's IIS Express. Right, here it is. See, it's the lightweight version, self-contained, that's really optimized for developers. Okay, so IIS Express, keep that in mind. IIS Express is not something you would use in production. IIS Express is included by itself using Web Matrix. If you have downloaded Web Matrix, keep in mind IIS Express is what's included with Web Matrix, and the version of the IIS Express that's current right now is IIS 7.5 Express. Okay? There are other web servers that you could use, but for .NET you need to use IIS environments. There's also the Visual Studio Development Server, and that's what I will be using to test my applications while I'm doing development. Windows Azure, as I told you already, as I've been mentioning it to you, takes care of your websites, your web services, your SQL databases, and it has it on virtual servers. Mobile services and media storage all are included with Windows Azure. I would want you to take some time out, register with Windows Azure, take it out for a test drive so you can get a better understanding of how it works and how important it is and what kinds of features that it allows you to have for your development environment and for allowing you to scale your development efforts without really having any physical equipment or technical support resources in-house. It does all the work for you.